The Ukraine is quickly becoming the center of a geopolitical crisis that could be the biggest Europe has seen in the 21st century. The Ukrainian crisis started in November when President Viktor Yanukovych abandoned a free trade agreement with the European Union and instead aligned his country's future with Russia. In response, thousands of people protested in the capital city of Kiev. It was the start of the anti-government movement known as the Euromaidan. In the days, weeks, and months that followed, government authorities executed a brutal crackdown on protesters. The bloodiest point of this crisis came the week of February 17th, when more than 80 people were killed in clashes with police. The Ukrainian parliament then impeached Yanukovych and stripped him of his powers. Yanukovych fled to Russia, where President Vladimir Putin granted his protection. Concerned about Ukraine's Crimea region, Putin readied 150,000 troops on the Russian-Ukraine border at the end of February. Crimea has a large Russian-speaking population and is home to 1/4 of the Russian Navy. Shortly after troops arrived on the border, armed men in unmarked fatigues descended upon government buildings in the Crimean Peninsula. Many journalists were reporting that these men were working in conjunction with the Russian government. However, Putin denies this claim. Ukraine is essentially the rope in a tug-of-war between Russia and the West. Putin wants to continue exerting Russian influence over Ukraine, but a majority of the Ukrainian people want a government that will align itself with the European Union and other Western countries. The United States supports Ukraine's effort to form a new government and carry this out. Also, if Putin successfully invades Ukraine, world leaders fear that it could lead him to adopt a more aggressive foreign policy. Since many European countries depend on natural gas that is pumped through Ukrainian pipelines, Putin could hold that supply hostage. The worst-case scenario in this crisis is that Russia invades Crimea and the battle spills over into the rest of Ukraine. Because Ukraine is now operating under a new temporary government, it is grossly underprepared for a full-scale war with a Russian military that is heavily armed and fully financed. If this were to happen, Western involvement would be vital for Ukraine to survive as a sovereign nation. In the best-case scenario, Putin pulls back his military involvement in the region, including Crimea. The Ukrainian people are then allowed to recognize their new leadership, hold elections in May, and rebuild their government. Lastly, Yanukovych would face the International Criminal Court to answer for crimes against humanity. It remains to be seen how all of this will play out, and developments are unfolding daily, so make sure to check out Mashable's latest coverage.